Not only gadget giant Apple, famous high-end electric car company Tesla also depends on China. But not anymore. Tesla will eliminate the use of rare earths in its next-generation electric vehicles. So why is Tesla so dependent on China? An analysis by the Nikkei supply chain in Japan shows that China is the world's largest supplier of materials for lithium-ion batteries used in Tesla's electric vehicles, accounting for 39% of the 61 companies in the storage battery category. Strong presence in the strategically important area. Chinese companies that have proven to be important suppliers to Tesla include Ganfeng Lithium, a major producer of lithium products with a score of 6.8. Novaray, the main producer of inorganic compounds, scored 7.1 points, while Zhejiang Huayu Cobalt, which makes cobalt-based materials, scored 5.7 points. An analysis of the shareholders of these companies showed that Novaray and Huayu Cobalt are influenced by the Chinese government, which indirectly owns 9% and 12% of their shares, respectively. American companies account for 22% of Tesla's total suppliers, while Chinese companies account for 17%. Tesla's percentage of Chinese suppliers is 4 points higher than General Motors. Tesla's working to build the resilience of its lithium supply chain. The company purchases lithium from suppliers such as Albemarle and Livent in China's Ganfeng, according to the reports released by Tesla in 2022. The company has also begun constructing a lithium refining facility entering the industry. Industry dominated by China, the findings have complicated implications as countries tighten regulations and push for investment for secure supplies of raw materials vital to economic security. China appears to be gaining the upper hand in the global market for key battery materials for electric vehicles. Tesla's reliance on key suppliers is assessed using Frontier's choke point index, which measures how dependent a finished product manufacturer is on a particular supplier on a scale 0.10 with 10. Beijing recently imposed export controls on some gallium and germanium products. China, the world's largest supplier of two metals used the semiconductor manufacturing, has introduced restrictions on 8 gallium and 6 germanium products, forcing exporters to apply for permits for dual-use items and technologies. The move in response to U.S. restrictions on exporting advanced semiconductor devices to China, Beijing can extend its restrictions at will. China has bought shares of lithium mines around the world. In response, the U.S. changed the eligibility criteria for electric vehicle tax credits under the Inflation Cuts Act, excluding manufacturers that do not source vital minerals from the U.S. or a friendly business partner for a $7,500 clean car credit. Tesla has been working to build the resilience of its lithium supply chain. The company purchases lithium from suppliers such as Albemarle and Livent from the United States and China's Ganfeng, according to a report released by Tesla in 2022. Ganfeng signed a 3-year contract to supply Tesla battery-powered lithium products in 2021, and the U.S. carmaker signed a 5-year lithium supply agreement with Liontown Resources in Australia in 2022. China has bought shares in lithium mines around the world. In response, the U.S. changed its electric vehicle tax credit eligibility criteria under the Inflation Reduction Act. The battle of electric vehicle supremacy has escalated beyond competition among manufacturers into fierce competition between countries, with direct consequences for the Japanese government and automakers. Domestic. Automakers are interested in building integrated systems to secure materials critical to economic security that span the entire supply chain, from raw material sourcing to finished product export. So what would Tesla do without China? Well, Tesla has been here before, but electric cars aren't the only ones using permanent magnets. They are ubiquitous, powering everything from hard drives to smartphones to wind turbines, another area that receives heavy government investment. According to rare earths consultancy Adamas Intelligence, even if Tesla can achieve its ambition without rare earth, the impact on demand for NdFeB magnets will be limited. They will stick with the PM engine, but redesign it to exclude rare earths. ID Tech X says he's shy about the specifics, but is most likely looking for ferrite-based alternative. Adamas Intelligence agrees, nothing that ferrite magnets are a proven concept, having been used in General Motors in their 2016 Chevy Volt. However, although they can match neodymium iron boron magnets on one or more perimeters, this performance comes with significant weight or efficiency penalty that has previously caused for an unattractive conversation, he warned. But that won't stop Tesla and others from experimenting with alternatives. According to ID Tech X, Audi and Mercedes opt for induction motors in their electric vehicles, while BMW and Renault have adopted a coil motor setup. However, he said the sector is still heavily reliant on rare earth and permanent magnets, which accounted for 80% of the electric vehicle market last year. He estimates that electric motors account for about 12% of global magnet consumption, with Tesla accounting for 15 to 20% of industry demand. Since then, it has fallen to 815,000 yuan, according to Chinese data provider Shanghai Metal Market. The electric vehicle revolution is on the rise as Europe and the U.S. pump money into decarbonization, meaning the sector will remain a major driver of rare earth demand. The global NED/FEB market is expected to lose only 2 to 3% of demand in the short term, and a maximum of 3 to 4% in the long term, assuming Tesla maintains its leadership position in the vehicle market, said Adamus Electricity. This is part of a larger metal story for electric vehicles, with lithium, nickel, and copper all at risk of not achieving green demand growth. The overall result is volatile and high prices. Rare earths have skyrocketed in price over the past 3 years. However, it's still much higher than a few years ago, a testament to the strength of underlying demand in a year when the consumer electronics sector struggled in both the West and China. The valuation remains with China, which is the world's largest producer of rare earths and the largest user producing most of the permanent magnets worldwide. For example, neodymium has fallen from 203,000 yuan per ton in July 2021 to over 1.5 million yuan in early 2022 amid severe supply shortages partly due to COVID disrupting raw material flows, export materials from Myanmar to China. This is an opaque market with supply determined by government production quotas and internal dynamics characterized by frequent mismatches with demand. There's also the persistent threat that China would weaponize rare earth supplies if relations with the West deteriorate. It did so in 2010 by cutting off exports to Japan in a dispute over the status of islands in the East China Sea that the Japanese call the Senkaku and the Chinese call the Diaoyu. As a result, Western companies, including Tesla, have been trying to reduce China's dependency on rare earth. Tesla, which says it reduces its use of rare earths by 25%, is part of a much broader effort to move away from particularly problematic supply chains. Even though Audi and Mercedes are opting for induction motors in their electric vehicles, BMW and Renault have adopted a wire-wound motor setup. Still, a large portion of the motor sector is still heavily reliant on rare earth and permanent magnets, which accounted for 80% of the electric vehicle market last year, he said. Western governments are doing the same. Lynas has just announced an Australian $200 million investment program from Japan Australia Rare Earths, jointly owned by the state-owned Japan Metals and Energy Security Organization. The company contracts with the U.S. Department of Defense to build rare earth processing capacity in Texas. Western supplies will increase thanks to the government's generosity. For now, however, this market is still dominated by China and is characterized by a price frenzy. That won't change as Tesla works to remove elements from the next model. Let's see if Tesla can follow Western decisions to catch up in the critical minerals race. So what do you think about the Tesla move? Let us know in the comment box. Also, subscribe and hit the like button for more.